did enjoy the part one. It made a lot of sense.
Fantastic. We are live now. Good morning, everyone. It's our third Naked Conversations. Today we're talking emotional mastery. Welcome. I am Anna Rachel. We have Clementina Lukowska, Amy Browne leading the talk today, and we have my Yokun, direct from Nigeria this morning. So welcome everyone, and let's start our naked conversation.
Yeah,
it's nice to be here.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, what is emotional mastery? Does anyone have any personal experience with obtaining emotional mastery? I know I do.
Ooh, yes, definitely.
It's an
So,
interesting topic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, what's the starting point? Where do we start?
I think it would be actually quite cool to define what it means first.
Yeah. Who's got the definition? My definition would be totally from my own.
Yeah.
Would love to hear yours.
Okay, so for me, emotional mastery is being able to handle tricky, negative, heavy emotions and maintain a healthy perspective and behave in according to your goals and your overall desires, your healthy desires. So not letting those negative emotions take over, change your path, cause you to act in a way that you're going to regret. So I think it means having a huge sense of self-awareness and self-discipline.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a very complete definition. I would struggle to find something else to add in there.
Powerful.
To be honest. For me, I believe that it's acknowledging the emotions, understanding, and that it's happening, but not associating with the emotions, not letting the emotions take lead
Exactly.
on your personality. And I think
Absolutely.
you will be less volatile if you are not driven by your emotions, but you acknowledge that they are there.
Yeah. For me, my teenager has enabled me to find another level higher on the self-mastery, on the emotional mastery ladder. So I think I'm lingering around the middle, to be honest. A couple of years ago, 5 years ago, I was right at the bottom. I feel like I'm around the middle, and I'm happy here, but I would like to progress in due time. But having a teenager has absolutely enabled me to, I have to progress to over mastering my emotions. Otherwise I'd behave like a teenager as well, and I could get sucked in so easily. So I thank her. I thank her for that. For all the challenges she poses me has enabled me great growth with my emotions. So what has caused you guys to grow in your own emotional mastery? What was it that caused you?
For me, what caused me is being aware that that's the thing that's going to provide allow me to have connection with myself and with others, which is a really important thing, and also to be the best person I can be. To being the best person I can be, being the best version of myself, and because I'm committed to this truth, whatever comes up is I'm just dealing with it, and I find it quite exciting.
Yeah.
So those two things, and it's been a journey, and I've been even surprised by how mature it is sometimes, actually. Like, after doing so much work, I'm like, oh wow, I reacted so well to this situation, but there are some situations that I'll still act off on moments, not fully in that emotional mastery. So I'm still on the journey, for sure.
And yes, when we often talk about emotions, one thing that especially living far from home, always brings us to our childhood experiences we had in our childhood, family, friends, and we grow. And when we leave our cities or leave our countries, those memories that always trigger something, and they help to mold and to shape who we are in the present. And the beauty I found to when in my nutrition practice, I I acknowledge that I was very much being driven by emotions because my mother, she was very emotional. She is very emotional, and for anything, she would cry straight away. Um, and I noticed that I have that behavior. I could never say no to someone, and then if I would go on the opposite directions and direction at someone's belief, I would go tearful. And I still have this surprising part. If I'm picking to speak suddenly, I go very nervous. So I can see how still the emotions can have an impact. But the difference now is that I use the breathing technique to acknowledge the emotion, um, bring myself awareness, breathing, being there in the present moment, and then working around it. So that's a massive difference when talking about how emotions affect my life and my professional life, my personal life, and
Yeah.
social, which is important. And then, talking about those lifts, when we go back to reprogramming our subconscious mind because we
Yeah.
have been exposed to a program, right? And we need to adjust that. If we want to create and live our wishes and desires, or are we living on a program, or are we actually living? Because when you live your wishes and desires, you're living the present moment because you're acknowledging what you want. But if I'm living based on a program, I'm going to have a set of repetitive behaviors, which is going to be drive me towards something, which is it's lovely because then you have control of your life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally resonate with you, and I really love those quick practices that help you, when you recognize your state, just take a few breaths and be there for yourself, and then maybe don't act right away, don't panic. I had a actually interesting family situation recently. I'm here in Macedonia. After a few years, I'm spending a bit longer here, and honestly, I don't know where I've gotten this learning from, but it's quite unconscious. When we're on the journey, we don't realize how much we learn, but being here, I can see a lot of patterns of my parents, and how actually me and my brother and my sister are actually practicing those. And for me, the moments when I am slightly off, it's all due to the lacks that I have had from childhood. Like um, maybe my mother hasn't been so much around, or these things. And it's not like a big trauma or anything like that, just as a child, how you see it. So as a child, we see things in some way, right? And it can be like a smaller or a bigger incident, but it can still impact us. So I can actually notice that in me, and I can see all the patterns and where they could be coming from. So it's quite interesting to see that. And recently I had a discussion, so I wanted to raise some topics with a family member, but that family member just like bursted at me, and I was like, wow, I didn't expect this. So it is quite interesting what people can do when they're just storing so much emotions, and then there is no other way than to just burst at the first person coming at you, no matter if they wanted to just have like a proper conversation or not. So I think it's very, very important to know the patterns that we might have inherited from our childhood, based on what we have perceived towards our parents, especially how we've perceived their attention to us, because when we're young, we want really, really a lot of attention. At least I have probably wanted a lot of attention. And it's very important to see how we react, because you will see a person where they're at, or you will see yourself where you're at when you react to a certain situation and how you react to that. And then you know where you're at, and that's fine. Just accept it. I've had to accept how I react in certain situations, and like that you can actually have the power to change it as well. So this just goes a little bit back to where they're coming from.
Yes, and as we have already been working with Amy and her wonderful work in terms of video parenting, and talking about emotions. We are emotional beings. We are driven by emotions, by special vulnerability, right? When we bond with people, we have that empathy of feelings of frequency connection. And Amy, something that I would ask you to talk about, and the tantrum box was amazing. Your tantrum box idea, because a couple of days ago, my son, we are still in a lockdown setting. Oh wow!
I have a buddy here.
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
you see him.
Beautiful.
Okay, he's drinking some.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, is he? Oh, I can't talk. Is it yours? Oh, it just popped in.
No, it's mine. It's mine. It's just he's distracting me. He keeps on distracting me here, and I have to take care of everything. Like he's biting.
Wonderful.
Just practicing patience, emotional mastery as well.
That's therapeutical. That's therapeutical. And I do love your juice there. But yeah, as you were saying, you're going to, I'm going to ask you to talk now, Amy, about the tantrum box. Just to say an example. And after watching your webinar, my son, bursted in tears because of a game, right? But he was really upset. And then, let me change that for you, Boo. And then I acknowledged that tantrum because of a game. And, if I hadn't been on your webinar, I wouldn't have acknowledged that as a tantrum. I said, oh my goodness, he's having a tantrum. Let me get ready with my tantrum box.
Yeah,
awesome. And I said, okay, let's sit down first. And then, because he didn't know how to breathe. And that's something, I'm always talking about. And I noticed my son didn't know how to breathe. And then I said, okay, deep in. And he went, I said, okay, no, gently. Touch my chest and then see how I'm breathing. And then I was doing the Sarah Anderson suggestion of the 4 seconds of the breathing. And then suddenly, after a few attempts, he was doing 5 breathings in and out. And then he was centered. I brought his attention to the present, and he was no longer driven by the tantrum. I said, okay, can you explain now what went wrong in your game? You can now go back. And then I just, oh, Mom, you really can do that. He was impressed with what he could do with his breath.
My God.
Look at the power if we give to our children.
Yeah.
That
you're teaching him emotional mastery.
Amazing.
Wonderful. And then
how old is he?
grown-ups, you can do this. He's eight.
Lovely.
That was, I felt I was the best mother in the world. Just in that moment where I could sit down, because otherwise, we're working here. And I know I'm super conscious. I know, because I have been working on that. But I just got to, wow, I am conscious when I got into that tantrum box. But let me tell you, without your webinar.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
So I'll let you talk now.
Yeah, so I've developed the tantrum treasure box analogy a little bit. So for those who don't know, it's just a fun analogy to help you shift your perspective when your kid's having a tantrum. So I'll try and explain it as succinctly as possible. So when your child's having a tantrum, they're basically opening their treasure box. And the way you respond is what you fill that treasure box with. And they will carry that treasure box with them for the rest of their life. And the responses that they initially receive from their main caregivers, parents, aunts, uncles, whoever, you know, has some significant position in their life, they will imprint. This is what we do with our children. We imprint our behaviours upon them subconsciously. They may never tap into 1% of these imprinted behaviours. So with the analogy of treasure box, when your child's having a tantrum, they're opening their treasure box for you, and they are trusting you to fill it with all the things that they're going to need to respond to their own emotions with for the rest of their life. Anna, you filled your son's treasure box with a breathing technique that we all know will alleviate the stress, the anger, will give him more emotional mastery over his behavior, his choices, his mindset, his emotions. And that is just phenomenal, and at his age. So that's our tantrum treasure box. For a lot of parents, when their child has a tantrum, for me especially, for the first possibly 10 years of raising kids, the biggest emotion I would feel when my child's having a tantrum in public would be embarrassment, judgment, shame, guilt, pressure, and I'd want to silence my child as quickly as I could because of my external locus of evaluation and everybody else's judgment of me and my parenting skills and of my child and my child's behaviour. So I was filling my eldest's treasure box with embarrassment, shame, judgment, impatience, and rejecting her emotions. So I was showing her it's unsafe to be vulnerable, it's unsafe to be open, it's unsafe to be angry and expressive, which is not what we want to show our kids. So I filled her tantrum treasure box for a lot of years, and I caused it to develop as a tantrum trauma box. So that's where I've developed the analogy. We can either equip our kids with a tantrum treasure box or a tantrum trauma box. So I see now, having 2 more children, 9 years later, they have tantrum treasure boxes. So I'm having to excavate my eldest's tantrum trauma box, and it's hard work. It's tough work for her and for me. It takes so much patience. Equipped our kids. Can you hear myself?
Sorry, that's
okay. So we can rewrite the stars. We can do this, but it takes so much work. It takes our own emotional mastery, and this is where I say she's given it to me because I didn't give her the best tools to manage her own emotion, to achieve her own emotional mastery. So now I'm having to rewrite her, the imprint that I've had on her, while her gaining her conscious awareness of her behaviours and why they are the way they are. So there's quite a few roads going on at the same time. So if we can be aware from our child's the youngest age possible, we can gain the awareness that we either can fill a tantrum treasure box or a tantrum trauma box, which they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. We can give them the skills to be resilient, to achieve emotional mastery. So the breathing technique is fantastic. When our kids have tantrums, we need to listen to them, because that is such a precious time where they don't care what anyone thinks. They're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you exactly what they're feeling, and that is such a precious time that we can get an insight into their world and what they're going through. Even if we think they're overreacting or their emotions are ridiculous, some kids might say, "You're the worst mum in the world. I never want to see you again, talk to you again. I wish you were dead." Some kids say that when they're angry. These are really harsh words, but the point is, you have to listen to them, because what they're saying might be over the top to us, but for them in that moment, it's real for them. So we have to honor them and listen to them. And by accepting and acknowledging what they're saying, I guarantee you they're going to move through their emotions much healthier, because they're going to accept it. They're going to move straight on to the next one. They're going to become more rational as you let them explore, be irrational, be crazy, be loud, have big emotions, and be vulnerable. They're going to then trust you more and bring to you their real emotions, uninhibited by anger and pain, because they're going to learn trust. in you. They're going to learn how safe it is to be vulnerable with mummy, with daddy, with auntie. And that is just the foundation of a healthy human development. We want our kids to talk to us. So many parents say when their kids are teenagers, you don't talk to me, you don't talk to me. We have to nurture this from day one, which, you know, I could go into so many analogies regarding communication.
I love
with
this.
kids. So I hope that's clear. If it's not to anyone, reach out to me. Happy to talk about that at any time. So it's proven, there are research studies out there that prove healthy attachment throughout childhood reduces the chance of an adult experiencing extreme anxiety for the rest of their life. So you're really giving your kids something super precious. It's emotional resilience for life. Life.
And I resonate with this on a personal level, to be honest, so much, because I grew up in a family where even, and I see it even now, you know, if there is some kind of a stress or there is a crying involved, like, don't cry, don't worry, don't
suppress.
Yeah, just put everything like away as if it's gonna go away. And I see it now, and now I get a little bit triggered even because I know how bad it is, you know, like I'm like, oh my God, I've grown up with this. That's why it was so hard for me. It took me years to start expressing my emotions. And even now it is also, actually, it was Amy who discovered. I said, well, it's still hard for me to express my emotions with my closest family, and I'm not sure why. And then Amy was like, well, yeah, maybe because it's not safe. And I'm like, wow. I always thought it's me. And like now I'm thinking, well, actually, you know, like I've achieved a lot of progress, and I might be there, but it's just maybe not safe, you know, or I'm daring more and more, but it does cause a little bit of stress, to be honest. So some like family members.
It is really important to know that we're going to be safe when we let ourselves be vulnerable. So unfortunately, sometimes in life we have to accept that we're never going to be emotionally safe with certain people that we wish we were. So that is something that we have to take away and work with, and find our own support wherever it may be, whatever strange and wonderful place our support actually lays. But sometimes it's not with our parents, sometimes it's not with our brothers, our sisters, you know. So that's something that we have to sit with, really, and accept, and that might be really hard. So for me, it's been really hard. You know, I'm 33 next month, and I can't wait. But so for 33 years, I'm still frustrated with a certain person in my life that I can't find emotional safety with. I've made a lot of progress with it, but it still hurts.
Yeah.
So I have to sit with that, and I just honor myself in what I'm feeling. It's okay to be sad about it. I am sad about it. So and accepting yourself for everything you are and everything you feel, that is also emotional mastery. And as one of you were talking, I wrote down separating yourself from your emotions is also a really helpful technique that I use when I'm feeling anger. Because anger is never something that I want to act on. I don't think anyone should really act on anger unless it's well thought out and it's going to be productive, you know, with beautiful results, necessary actions. So for me, when I feel anger for who I am, I have to separate myself from the anger temporarily. Otherwise, I can't make decisions. So I think that's another technique we can use.
I have a technique that I use for that, if it's easier for some people, is like, if I get triggered, I would ask myself, what would my higher self do? My higher self is the one who has the helicopter view, who is not captured in that box of like emotions and whatever is happening in the situation. And I'm like, what would my higher self do? And especially if I'm angry at someone, it would like be like, my higher self wouldn't be angry at this person. Let's say it's my mom, like just for an example, it doesn't have to be. And I'm like, but I love my mom. Like I'm you know, like I want to spend all the time with her. So why would I be angry right now or like say this or that? So like it really helps you to come back to yourself. Your higher self is your teacher.
I've written that down. I'm going to use that because
I'm
I
just putting
think,
that down on that on our Facebook Live so people can.
yeah,
We have 4 viewers. Please
lovely.
feel welcome to interact with us on the
Chat.
So
Ask
if
questions.
you have any questions about, we're discussing emotional mastery, and then how we can, interchange experience here. But I'll be time.
Ask us questions.
Yeah. So I have a question, Amy. What would you recommend? Now you gave us some really amazing truth bombs, let's say, or emotional mastery bombs. What would you say for someone, an adult who has the tantrum box probably full, right? A lot of our tantrum boxes are full with stress and not really understanding from our parents, because in the past it wasn't really so spoken of. Not many people knew about this. So what would you say to someone with a full tantrum box of lots of stuff? How can they start on the journey? How can they make some little progress, or how can they measure themselves as well as to where they're at, and how can they manage that?
I think you answered that question a little bit, and when you said what would your higher self do, I think that is a great question that we can ask ourselves regularly, possibly the second we wake up. I think that could be life changing if you keep that goal prominent in your mind. But also for me, I'd say as a child, my tantrum treasure box was half and half. I had some really great skills from my dad. My dad taught me to honor myself, really, and that I'm worthy, but it was kind of outweighed by other experiences in life. So I had to really I had to find the belief that I'm worthy, my voice is worthy of being heard. So I had a lot of frustration, and I guess self-doubt, negative talk, because of things I experienced as a child. So to enable us to have better control of our emotions, and we need the awareness of our emotions. We need to know why we are programmed the way we are. And I'd say it all comes down to childhood, our experiences. So take a look, but have complete compassion for yourself and everyone around you. If you were raised by somebody that gave you some shit that you're sitting with now, some really tricky stuff, there's no blame. There's no space for blame. Have compassion and forgiveness for everyone, yourself and those who raised you. I believe we're all doing the best we can with what we know and knowledge. So we're going to look back and think, I could have done a whole lot better. So I think the blame can eat you up. But we want to check that at the door. And compassion. I mean, I think I'm probably have for the rest of my life. The art of compassing, guys. Check it out. I can't do him justice. So having compassion is a big one. Gaining self-awareness. The next time you're triggered and you don't like the way you're feeling, sit with it. Take a time out. Write down what you're feeling. Maybe you can explore your earliest experience with that feeling. And if you think that response reflects a significant caregiver in your childhood, and help yourself gain awareness over it, and then replace it on paper with how you want to respond, and work through it. But sit with it, honor your pain, honor your discomfort and all your emotions, and you will gain self-awareness. I mean, therapy. I love therapy. Get yourself some therapy.
Exactly. That word might be scary for some people, but it is so needed. But if I can actually summarize briefly, like what people could do is like have your triggers as teachers. When you're triggered, there is something in there for you to heal, to transcend, to be aware of at least. So triggers as teachers, and also when there is a desire and you want to do something but you feel this negative self-talk towards you, like for example I've had with public speaking sometimes, like, oh, why do I want to speak when I I could freeze in public speaking. Like I literally had that in the past.
Yeah.
But there was a desire, and either I would have just dimmed it, or I would have been like, no, if there is a desire, I know this is the right thing, let me solve whatever there was to solve. And so like when we have a desire and when we have a trigger, would that be a fair guidance?
I think that's amazing. Trigger, you just said triggers are teachers, and I would like to ask your permission to use that as an analogy.
Of course, yeah.
I think that's amazing. It's perfect, and you want to sit with it. Give yourself some time and some love, some self-love. And when you're feeling pain, your triggers are your teachers. Absolutely. If you want to gain self-awareness and emotional mastery, your triggers are your teachers. Yeah.
And as you say that, quite interesting. I'm just posting on our live on Facebook. We have, according to the data available on World Health Organization, we have a suicide every 40 seconds.
Wow.
And that is massive, isn't it? I often go back. Psychiatry has completely failed because if they are there to support us in getting a better mental health, the data is showing that we're going the opposite way. For a suicide worldwide every 40 seconds.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. But it shows us
our earth is crying. The earth is crying.
And the happiness is going down as well, according to some reports.
Yes, and what are we doing? We are still looking for answers outside. We are, paying a therapist to, as we pay, we want someone to solve our problem, and then we transfer the responsibility of dealing with that emotions to someone. Why? Because our society is immature, is incomplete. I don't think, by having the opportunity to be in Dr. Bruce Lipton live this Saturday, and bringing the pain was a topic, was amazing. But what and then we had a doctor, which is actually she's not using medicine to treat her patients. She's bringing awareness. Produce your own chemicals, beat the placebo effect, and produce their own painkillers in your body. And then by doing this, we are giving people the power to choose what they want to do with their lives rather than taking things from the outside. And it's important because, we are now awakening and become. One thing that she said, and that I don't want to forget to say, is that it's not that medicine is wrong. Medicine and the whole system is incomplete.
Yeah.
We are doing the right thing, but we're incomplete. So what we are doing now here, it's actually, it's being one more channel of spreading the word, because it's perfectly, we're evolving, and you don't go straight to perfection if you don't master certain things. If we don't try, it's trial and error. We learn from mistakes more than from getting things right. At some point, that's not going to be our reality. And I have noticed already a shift in my life, but it's acknowledge all the pain, feel it, and then create the medicine for it. And if you need, sometimes, I'm not trying to replace the therapist's work, but by listening to what we are saying here, and us three, we master our emotions. It's not that we no longer feel and we are no longer shaken by the emotions, but we master. And when we bring the community together, so, I never thought about the tantrum box. How amazing is that? And, Clementina, triggers are the teachers, right? So how amazing here, the therapeutic sessions we're getting, but it's actually to teach you how to walk on your own legs, rather than, paying someone which is important as well, because we appreciate people's work, but don't pay to transfer your emotional problems or responsibilities to someone. Pay to be a part of your of solving the problem. I think that's really important, and we need to, like we do with our children, like we did with ourselves when we left mom's house. Is to learn to survive out there. So we need to learn to survive our emotions. So we reduce this rate 40 seconds of suicide. It's shocking.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, actually, because also what I've noticed that the therapists always see you very individually, and they normalize a lot of things that actually, or maybe actually no, they make a lot of states wrong, like, oh, this is not normal, you should have this medicine. But actually a lot of these states are coming from our collective traumas, irrational fears, and destructive beliefs. So they, like, sometimes we feel like something is not normal, but actually it is normal. It is normal to feel this fear of being alone, or fear of being rejected by a group, or fear of scarcity, fear of invasion. All these things are very, very normal. Actually, they come from our collective heritage.
See, I think the term normal has been hijacked. And I think now what the term normal implies is what's socially acceptable, what makes other people comfortable. I think that's the way normal is used now. Oh, if I'm feeling uncomfortable because you're talking about your emotions, I say, oh, well, that's not normal. That's not normal to talk about that, or to talk like that, or to feel that. And I think from my experience, it's used so often to just suppress people, to reduce people to what is comfortable for me.
Yes.
Absolutely. I had people freaking out on me because they weren't feeling comfortable in the conversation. And it's the best way to escape it, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to address something you said, Anna, about therapy. So I think psychiatry and therapy and talking therapies are very different, because one includes medicinal treatments, and the other one is based on a human-to-human talking therapy. And I think the misconception with talking therapy is that a counsellor wants to fix you, or fix your problems, and that is the misconception. And I think exactly what we're doing here is similar to what you can achieve in a therapy session. So a counsellor will have a minimum of 4 years training in healthy human development and techniques for emotional mastery. And if they're a good therapist, they will bestow those skills upon to you. So they could give you, they may reference bits of information and studies, but just to develop your awareness, give you skills. It's a place to go where you're safe and confidential, and you can tell them things you wouldn't tell anyone else in your life, things you may be extremely ashamed about. And it's safe to do so, and they're trained, and I believe they're maybe not all genuine, but I believe they're humans at the end of the day. But for me, I have my own therapist, and I believe that he is extremely genuine, and I can bring anything, no matter how ashamed or traumatized I am by it, and it's always received with a positivity, unconditional positive regard, and I feel it's genuine. So then by me doing that, I don't feel so ashamed anymore. I don't feel so, and sometimes I realize I actually could have spoken to anyone about this, but I held on to it for 10, 20 years. So it's I think it's a really useful tool. I think completely different to psychiatry, which I don't know enough to really have a strong opinion on, but I'm not fond of it. I think for a very small number of conditions it may be useful, but I think we're on the similar pathway of wanting to look into nature instead of Western medicine for treatments. And I think we have been on this earth for thousands and thousands of years, healing ourselves with plants, with energy, with the earth, and now we are trying to develop a society that relies solely on Western medicine, which, you know, has just so many other options out there that are natural to us, that have zero risks.
Yeah.
Such as what you do, Anna, and, you know, soulpreneurs. What with your work, Clementina, you know, we're working with the earth and from the earth, and I think so many answers lay there.
Yes.
All of them, all of the answers.
Yes, it's important. We know talk really, but briefly, time-wise. So
Yeah,
we know that when we talk about the mainstream options in Western culture, we go back to drugs, and drugs they come from plants. We are mimicking the chemical structure of plants and then producing pills. Unfortunately, pills they do have side effects. Some people might need to start with because they are not completely not aware of their mental aware of their mental capacity, of the power of their mind. So sometimes what we call allopathic drug, there might be an initial route until we calm down. It's like a tantrum box for some, right? Okay, let's restore a little bit of health here despite we're giving side effects, and then let's do how wonderful. That's how some doctors do in Brazil. They might start with allopathic medicine, and then they will go to the homeopathic one, and homeopathic coming straight from plants, and the idea that we are giving your organs the strength, little by little with the homeopathic drug, so that you can start, slowly but surely starting to respond and gain the authority back of your life, and then you gain authority of your health. Because if you don't have authority towards who you are or what you are doing here, you don't have authority to anything. I'm sorry, that's the reality. That's why we see this society collapsing. We see problems with parenting, and then behavior in work, and feminism and machismo and racism. It's just it is a reflection of what we are, and then we are ill. The disease is coming from every single individual, and we're just reflecting this in a collective manner. That's what's going on. So deep down, it might hurt, but I now take responsibility for everything, even something that doesn't look like it's my fault. If I am experiencing it for a reason, and the universe is perfect, everything follows a geometric pattern. Our body, the more and more we study, we discover that nothing happened by chance. And then the more you become aware, the more you take responsibility for everything. And what you think, I'm sorry, is going to imprint in your cells, and could be something that you experience in your mother's womb. It doesn't matter. You have the power to change in the will of your life. And once you know that, what doesn't become important? Money becomes a tool, not something that you need to live on. So there are certain things that the hierarchy of your life, it's no longer driven by emotions, and it's driven by what you want to build and what you want to achieve, and what are you giving out there that's going to make an effect in the world. But firstly, it has to make an effect on yourself. So that's what I love about it all. And that's my thought for today, and what I can say that I got from this amazing naked conversation.
I love it. Yeah, super important.
So can I just ask, for anyone who's watching, if you have a topic you would like us to discuss, please stick it in the chat, in the Facebook chat, comment. Let us know what you would like to ask us about, what you would like to hear us explore together. Let us know.
Yeah, even if it's after this live, because a lot of people will watch it after the live.
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
it's streamed
absolutely.
on Facebook. So just drop it in the comments, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Lovely.
So, Clementina, you're always great at bringing this summer up. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to bring it to a closer with what you said, because I feel it's so freaking important to take full responsibility of yourself. So if we can give at least one thing to people to go away from this conversation is like, notice when you give your power to someone else, or when you blame someone else.
Yeah.
Even if you have 3% of it, own it. And that's how you're going to be a much better person, a much more evolved person. I mean, imagine, I always like think like, okay, I'm here now, but imagine me in 3 years, you know, if I can improve on this, and if I can really like own it, if I can own my emotions. So basically, if you take full control and ownership of your life, and this goes in all directions, not only emotional mastery, like if you take ownership, you take ownership of everything. And then you're not governed by other things. You are actually your own boss in a way in life. And that's the most beautiful thing we can have actually in this life, kind of like our own personal freedom. So I would love to close with that and thank everybody who is watching and will be watching. And please let us know about other topics.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Amy, if you just, in a few topics, what would be your step-by-step for to emotional mastery?
Honoring your pain, and giving it space. And that may look like sitting in your room one night, spending a whole evening just sitting with yourself and thinking about the last time you experienced a real traumatic inner pain, and sitting there with a notebook and yourself and writing down all the feelings that have come from it, and honoring those, accepting those, acknowledging them, and you will find the next step after you do that. So honor your pain. Pain is your teacher.
So important.
What did we say? Triggers are your teachers.
Yeah.
There
And
we
pain,
go.
yeah, pain as well. Pain is so,
Yeah.
it's good to
Pain has
feel
been
it.
my biggest teacher.
Yeah, it's good to know that it's part of the human experience. I mean,
Yeah.
So how can you manage something if you don't own it? Be your own boss. I think that's today. What a wonderful opportunity. What a wonderful conversation. And always an honor and a pleasure to be with you. And we are making these a reality every week. And we have some news in the coming weeks. So keep in touch with us. And we'll bring very valuable resources. And, we're closing today.
I would like to say one more thing. And I think, Clementina, you might say it better, which is what I heard in your webinars. And I have lived this, but it was so nice to hear you say it so neatly. I think you said your greatest success comes from your greatest pain. How did you word that?
Yeah, so I work predominantly with soulpreneurs, so people that want to create their own business from, their own experience and their own knowledge and their own soul intention. And very often, if you have a soul business, that means that it's very much connected to your own pain, what you had to undergone in this life. Because very often our life challenges are actually obstacles that we have to overcome to become the person we were supposed to become to fulfill our intention in this world. And so a pain such as, let's say, from somebody who's like not expressed at all, a bit congested, let's say I had that, I had a lack of expression in the past. Now I actually help people express through their own business, even express who they are in full, and support others on that journey. So it's very, very connected.
Your biggest pain became your biggest strength.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. My one of my biggest pains is being the oppressed child, And then I was the parent. I was parenting in an oppressive way for 10 years and creating this oppressed child. And that's the biggest pain in my life. And now I've turned that into a whole business around conscious parenting. And it's not a business to me. It's my baby. It's my fourth baby, and it comes from my biggest pain.
Yeah,
So
it's your service
same as
to
you,
others.
Kampina.
Yeah.
It's a soul business. And Anna, I think it's exactly the same for you.
You know, I often say, now I acknowledge that, and that's why we were brought because of things. But
Yeah.
when I graduated and when I started to work, I never went through, I could never connect very much with my clients because I didn't experience the level of pain they were going. So I could not empathize naturally because I didn't go through that. But it wasn't until I went through very, very bad depression and that I just put on the table, I quit. I can no longer be a nutritionist because I failed. And I failed to be a mom, and I failed to be a wife, and I failed to be, I failed. But if it wasn't that pain, yes, I wouldn't, have
the big pain.
created actually amazing how good that I had that, because otherwise I couldn't have developed we all developed here easy techniques and approaches so that we can, because we have been there, we can help people to actually believe in themselves and then use that to their own experiences to build their own business. Or it could be that you are a mom, or you want to open your own business, or could be anything. We are managers of our own. We are directors and CEOs of our lives. And if you live in a family, it's your family. If you share your daily lives with someone, you need to be able to manage it properly. But you won't do that if you don't acknowledge emotions, for sure. And then it is a step by step, and then lifestyle comes as a consequence, and food and everything, all the pieces that actually can support you with any activity. And we are humans, and we need a holistic approach on our lifestyle.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to acknowledge as well, most of our engaging audience for the past two broadcasts has been predominantly male, which is funny because we wanted to go all female. Thank you so much for engaging. Last time, Mikhail, this time, Mayukun, who says, it's been really empowering session for me, learned so much about mental conditioning. And I love this, that, the audience has driven us.
Amazing.
And I love how men are dropping into this topic. It's so important and so lovely to see that men are stepping up to own their emotional health as well.
Because I think we need to heal men on this earth.
We have the thing about the male emotions, and we are suppressing, and I'm surrounded by boys. My life is about male hormones. I have 5 brothers. I have 2 children, which they're both boys. My husband, and constantly. To be honest, one of my best friends, they are all males. So it's important to acknowledge that emotions are there for everyone, and they are there to make us better and to make us more sensible, so sensitive. 2 words I always get mixed, but never mind, you got it. And yes, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Pleasure, and everyone who's going to be watching this, and we hope we can inspire you. Reach out to us.
Maybe you can realize that your greatest pain can become your greatest success.
Definitely. It's your body saying, please, I need attention. I need attention. So don't neglect it. Don't neglect anything. Very important.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. It's been an absolute pleasure again.
Amazing.
Like always. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Yeah.
And have a wonderful week. And we have news for next Monday. So we are going to be sharing things here soon.
Yeah.
So see you next.
Excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.